Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wireheads. This is part 2 of episode 11. I'm Diamond Dust, and this is Emmerron. And today, earlier we talked about themes that we include in our writing. Something else I want to include is the alternative rules that we include in our games and how they impact our games. So, I suppose for starts, what defines alternative rules? So alternative rules, in the way I've seen it, in the way I would like to define it, is a rule set that changes play of the game, but can be excluded, and it has no impact on how the game performs or functions. This would include anything that does not impact the main engine of the game, what keeps the game moving, and also it is a rule set that it is only going to touch in like one specific area, like it is one topic.
So to clarify something, are you including DLCs as part of like the rules as written in the system? Or would you consider DLCs like loot box and achievements to be like an alternative rule in that context?
So I suppose to clarify, if we're talking specifically the DLCs, I'm talking about the non-gear DLCs, the non-listen up. Basically, it is something that's no more than just the rule system. This would include achievements and loot boxes, breaking your stuff. I guess listen up, because they do include alternate rule sets in there, because I used some stuff out of those books. Chasing the rabbit, stickball, Elflines Online, and also the new chase rules as well. And some of them, yes, they're games, but I consider them alternate rule sets because they do stick to one specific topic. We've covered Elflines Online. We've already had our ELO sweep. We've already had ELO the TCG. But when we look at these rule sets, I for one, I allow all current rule sets into my game. With a couple of them where I kind of cherry pick, which is John the Wise's and Rob Mulligan's DLCs, where I'll see what works in my game, what doesn't work. Most everything else I allow in my game because it's always going to be primarily a net benefit for my players. And then let's see what else. I'm trying to think if there was any other alternate rule sets I'm missing, but I guess collecting the random could be kind of included in there a little bit. More for like the reskins of roles.
Yeah, kinda. I don't know. That one's a little weird because it's not like you're ranking one role when you multi-roll like that, or use those like alternative labels. They're more like, here's an identity. Here's an yeah.
Sorry, I was having a little bit of a brain stroke there. Oh, and digital dating.
Yeah, digital dating. Digital dating is a big one. ELO is kind of, but not exactly. I guess by that definition, it kind of would be, if you consider digital dating to be an alternative rule set. Tarot crits are another. But yeah, like it's, I feel like, so what, I guess, do you consider a good alternative rule set? Like how do you define one way or another, or parse out like what is a good or bad alternative rule set?
When I sit down and I look at an alternative rule set, of course it's going to follow I have 3 stipulations when it comes to alt rule sets. Number 1, it does not change the major mechanics of the game. That means it does not change how combat works, except in very minor details. But it's not suddenly you're rolling d20s instead of rolling d10s. It doesn't change market value unless it has a really good reason to do it with fixers. Or basically the value of items does not change. It does not turn other things obsolete. This one, and yes, chat, you if you're wondering where this one came from, and you got an idea where it came from, if you guessed D&D 5th edition, you guessed right. Don't make shit obsolete from the past. Don't do that. Bad. And then finally, last but not least, does it introduce some new challenge or a new activity to the players and the GM? Yes? Great. Will we use it? Possibly. But it could add some flavor to the world as well. I mean, hell, let alone today. I mean, 8-Bit went and just dunked on a Weefle today.
He deserved it.
TCG.
Trying to be an edgelord, telling me I'm gonna beat you and take your cards. Yeah, okay. Good joke. Not only do I have a better deck than you, but I've got a fucking Perseus that says I win. Like, you and your chooms would never.
So, with that in mind, when we look at these rule sets, breaking your stuff. Now, you could say, you know, in that case, then breaking your stuff does fall out of line here. It's one of those alt rule sets that it doesn't meet those three major stipulations. This one, however, does change things for me a little bit, where I have means to, you know, push the players in other ways. It's going to be a different challenge, because, like, you know, that critical injury to the head, you know, I destroyed your eye. What about the smart glasses that your eye was behind? You know, they're kind of screwed. Sure would be a shame if someone's virtuality goggles got busted up.
Yeah. I think my favorite part about that one in particular is that it gives a lot of really interesting ways for items to break, rather than just saying very generically, like, they're destroyed. Like, destroyed doesn't mean much. What do you mean destroyed? How destroyed? Like, and not just by delineating, you know, like destroyed but repairable or destroyed beyond repair. Like, we're talking, like, did it crack? Did it smash? Is there shrapnel now as a result of that? Like, all of those things kind of matter when you, especially, I think these matter more if you're playing a really simulative game. But if you're playing like a not particularly simulative game, then yeah, I mean, you kind of just you can kind of get by with the extrapolation of, like, all right, they're just destroyed, you know, like. And that's all that happens, is they're just destroyed. They break or whatever, you know, and you might animate that, but it has no mechanical implications for the fact that they're broken outside of the fact they no longer function.
One of the other things that it includes is, and, you know, we talked about it a little bit, the usage of lifestyle. The fact that it gives you a reason to move up. Because, sure, that is a really nice linear frame Sigma you have. Do you have the means to maintain it yourself? Do you have a fresh food lifestyle? No? Well, I hope you're really good friends with a med tech or a tech that will help take care of you. And also they give, like, special rules for, like, what happens is, like, you know, attacks resulting in 20 or more damage after the SP. I feel like that's a hat tip to John the Wise's, like, stun rules, where, you know, if somebody takes so much damage after their back in 2020, and John I think repurposed it to Red. If you take, like, so much damage after the SP, it's stunned. Instead, 20 damage after SP, and, you know, your stuff gets broken.
Yeah. Well, and I think it also kind of harkens against, because in The Witcher TTRPG, because it's also based on interlock, the way crits are handled in that game aren't based on damage values or the dice you roll. They're based on how far above the DV you went. So they're kind of treated in the same way auto fire is, but with like brackets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you're 5 up, I think it's like a simple crit. 10 up, it's like a complex crit. 15 up is like a there's 4 tiers basically. The final one's deadly. I don't remember them all offhand because I haven't played as much Witcher. Difficult, thank you, Connor. Connor's in my chat, gave me difficult. So yeah, you have simple, complex, difficult, and then deadly. And they're all in bands of 5 above whatever your DV or opposed check was. And the damage die you roll don't matter worth a damn other than to calculate the damage itself. But if you roll above, then whew, that starts getting spicy. And I think it was that way in 2020 as well, because I think that's old interlocks talking through the system. So it's interesting how those sorts of things don't have an impact, I think, as much in Red. And I think that if anything, that's one thing I would like to see more of, is like the high check mattering, because it should represent something more than just binary success or failure. But I don't know if I found a good way to make that rule work, you know? Because like making a crit on that doesn't really feel right. I don't know. But I'd love to see an alternate rule set on that if one hasn't already been developed. I typically don't go about reading much homebrew just because I like keeping my conception of the game pretty close to raw. But I would love to see if someone's developed like a interface 1.0 or interlock rather 1.0 crit system that you could staple on the top of Red and have it work somewhat well with the way Red does things.
I suppose some of the other things that come with like breaking your stuff, you know, if you don't maintain your gear, there is consequences. Maybe your armor just double ablates by itself every time you take damage. You know, suddenly your Borgware or your cyber chair starts leaking hydraulic fluid. That stinks to high heaven. Hell, you know, your neural wear will just shock you because it's all busted up. Your general gear, you know, one day you just pick up your bag and everything just falls out the bottom. That's the kind of shit that, you know, can really, you know, put you know, I wonder, say a character is like at 1 empathy, you know, but just hypothetically, you know, a netrunner is at 1 empathy, and you know they forgot to maintain their cyber deck, and suddenly it just kind of starts to just malfunction, so you lose a net action every couple rounds. You'd think that just might push them to have a little more humanity loss when they get way too frustrated with it.
It depends, I think, on the context, because if they're just diving a typical net or whatever, or they're playing surveillance, and they're not really, you know, being pushed in a way that's like high tension, probably not. But like, by contrast, if you're in some CEO subnet or you're in a corporation's net and like the price of failure here means potentially getting your ass beat by the corporation, you know, or potentially losing your opportunity to get one over, be surprised, you know, get that surprise factor in on the CEO that you're hunting. Yeah, I mean, that lack of net action could really start to fuck with you pretty hard.
Number 5, something is wrong, you know? You're all set up, you got the perfect hidey hole, and then suddenly your cyber deck just doesn't turn on. It's sort of like one of those. Like, have you ever just had one of those days where the slightest inconvenience just sends you flying flying off the handle?
Yep.
That is what I'm talking about.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, typically those types of days happen on the back of a bunch of other stress.
Absolutely.
And more often the small inconvenience is just the final straw. But that's what I mean. Like, if you don't have a ton of tension built up, that little inconvenience, you're like, come on, you piece of shit work. And that's all it's going to be. It's not going to be rage. It's not going to be anger. It's just going to be like, fuck, come on. Whereas if you're like, we need this turret disabled and the enemy, security backup is coming and there we could hear AV jets outside and like, layer after layer after layer. And the last thing that happens on top of all these things, fuck, we need to take down the turret, try to turn on the cyber deck, and it doesn't turn on. Oh my God. Whoo, yeah, that might be humanity loss right there.
Or solos. Well, you didn't, take care of your weapons here. You're going to be taking a -2 attack check to that favorite rifle of yours that you love shooting so much ammunition out of. Or that weapon you swing around so much.
Too bad you didn't clear the fouling from the rifling. That would have been really good to do, probably.
Now, with that in mind, breaking your stuff, it's a great alternative rule set. It doesn't need to be in your game. And I use it not all the time, but I use it from time to time when I feel it really calls for, I did a lot of damage to that particular item. It's getting broken.
Right. I think that's appropriate because I find, and this is nothing against like Njali, who's the one who actually made that rule set. Nothing against him, but I find it very crunchy and cumbersome in a way that most of the rest of the red rule set, like the core rule set, just isn't. So I do appreciate the rule tables. I do appreciate like having the freedom to like decide, this is breaking, and really get to define like how that works mechanically, what that looks like. And if I did want to eventually get to the crunch of that, like this is how it would all work. But like week to week, I just don't have enough neurons in my head. I don't have enough brain cells to like track that in addition to every other thing I'm tracking already. Like if I automated a little more of the stuff that I'm manually tracking, like how much time has passed since this event happened, like then maybe, if I got a calendar mod finally installed on my game system in Foundry or whatever, then maybe. But like shy of that, probably not. I'm probably not going to go into that full rule system and like apply it full send.
All right, next notable alternative rule set that you can think of, Emmerron.
I would say loot boxes and achievements, or achievements and loot boxes, whichever order they're in.
The one that caught both of our eye when it was produced.
I fucking love that set so much. Like it's a tie between like that and tarot, for which is like my next favorite. I think tarot would probably have to be my favorite alternate kind of rule in the game, just because like I think if you are going to introduce like more complex crits, that's a great way to do it. But achievements and loot boxes is so much fun. I have a hard time applying it full send. Like I don't keep track of achievements. Again, automation issue probably. If I have a way to like automate that, it would make it far less of a headache.
It's kind of hard to automate that one when it's very much more player action is what causes the achievements to go off.
Not really, actually, because like all I would need to automate it is, this would be the way I do it in Foundry at least, right? I'd make items, one item per achievement, and then I just put, I'd see if I could make like a custom container for the achievements to go on the player's gear sheet or something, and then just tack them on that way. That would be the way that I would probably go about it. Because then I could see exactly what they've had. But yeah, that's like the only level of automation, and it's just a lot to like go through and build out the achievement items and like think about that when you're in the middle of a season. Maybe before season 3, I'll do that so that we can properly use that. Because I do like the idea of having a system that gives you advantage, was effectively like advantage in Cyberpunk. I really dig that. But I haven't found a great way to kind of keep track of that, or trust like that players will keep track of it, because I already have to like make sure that they're adding IP to their sheet and stuff like that. And it's already a bit of a challenge in that regard. So yeah, that element of it, I would love to use that more. But the loot boxes alone, especially like, I might get more mileage out of that because I'm, you know, you and I are streamers. So like for me, it's like, here's like, this DLC was built for you actual playmakers or streamers that run the game. Do you want a good chat interaction? Make them able to drop loot boxes for your party. It is so much fun. Because the stuff they get out of that is probably not going to be particularly useful. But on the odd chance that it is, I mean, it's fun. It's fun little time. I've got a whole bunch I need to drop next week because I keep forgetting to drop them. But they're awesome.
I got a nice little segue for you. Just because, like, you know, and you've pretty much wrapped it like achievements and loot boxes, like going out and actually exploring the world, and you know, really taking in the sights, and also getting into some real crazy shit. A med tech for my Thursday group, Zephyr, went out on a date with a nomad lass, and there's an achievement for, you know, going out on a date. Zephyr got a box that had a lipstick print on it show up on his stoop.
That's fun.
I think I guess at what was inside that it's inside there. A Mr. Stud. Like this shit can't write itself.
That's so fucking funny. Oh my god.
Speaking of dating, digital dating in the dark future, aka my favorite NPC generator. Well, when I'm not rolling stats, I just need to kind of get an idea of, you know, what they're like. I haven't really used this one to great detail, but more for the fact that it has not come up where anybody's like really used the garden dating, which, I mean, I guess for most of you guys, you don't have time for that when there's money to be made. But honestly, though, at the same time, I kind of wish that this, like it could help impact your humanity, where, you know, you're going out and actually making connections with people, or trying to make meaningful connections. And, you know, if things go really well, maybe your humanity gets a little boost. Maybe you get like a point or two back. And I mean, if things don't go so well, oh well. I mean, what else was to be expected? But also, it kind of helps. It kind of also helps really paint like what it's like in each zone as well. Like they talk about, you know, like, you know, date ideas for each location, like NorCal military base, you know, going out to the shooting range, or lots of development, going to what looks like Savoy's Museum of Petroleum, which I thought Petrochem had the museum, but oh well.
I mean, they're both. You and I both know the score there.
Morro Rock is even a location you go out on a date on. You can even go watch, you know, the go watch them open and close the orbital mass driver. I bet that'd be pretty neat. Or Old Combat Zone, go do some graffiti. Hey,
I mean, like, hold on.
What?
You date someone from Short Circuit, let's just say, right? Like, you go out with someone you met at Short Circuit. That is exactly the kind of person that would enjoy watching the orbital mass driver get opened and closed. You kidding me?
Oh, absolutely. I'm absolutely not kidding you. I feel like that'd be some pretty cool shit. Little Europe date. Pray with them at Holy Angels Church. Swiping left. Anyway.
I think you misspoke. Swipe right on that.
Let's see. What else do we have? Little China. Let's see. Grab a drink at the Forlorn Hope. I mean, if you're the right kind of crowd to go into that kind of place. Let's see, what else do we got at the Glen? A guided tour of City Hall. Why would you want to go to City Hall? Why would you want to go there?
Sometimes you just need to prep that next heist, you know?
Oh, hey. What are the dates at the Glen? A night at the opera. Oh, I bet that sounds like a wonderful date.
It's a wonderful time. Truly, the opera is incredible.
I bet it doesn't suck.
No,
and of course,
a little bit.
Breaking into Pacifica Playground. So, there's that too. I mean, there's all sorts of great options over here to go and go over there.
Well, and I think that like some of these alternative rule sets, because this ties back to what we are just talking about in part one. Some of them just act as really good adventure hooks, right? Like some of the achievements are exploration based, like stand in the ruins of Arasaka. Stand in the ruins of Arasaka Tower is one of the achievements. Ride the roller coaster at Pacifica is another. The date path one also could just lead to being like a whole set of adventures, which is really, really cool. I really dig them.
Night City weather, because sometimes you just haven't thrown enough at the party. Why not the weather? And guess what? There's blood rain coming for one of the groups. They don't know it yet. Someone's getting it.
I'm afraid. Please not Uncle Larry.
But yeah, there's all sorts of great weather conditions, including, if it's freezing cold outside, you take damage for being out in the cold. And if it's hot
if
out,
it's blazing hot outside,
heavy armor, you get slowed down even more.
Yeah, you take penalties. It's fantastic. Trying to think, what's another one that I was like big into? Well, I mean, the tarot ones, I mean, those are just fun, but
yeah,
tarot is fucking hilarious.
There is
like,
so much in tarot.
Well, and it's one like we had a moment last not this current week, but last week, episode 15, Neon Inferno, for those of you who are watching on the channel, where Nyla took one. And then this week, when he finally got back safe to the hotel they're staying at, he's like, "Fuck you, I survived." And it was the funniest shit, where he's like, "I survived, I win, the tarot did not kill me." And I'm like, yeah, that's very good. That is very, very, very good. But it does lead to those moments of like, you feel like you really did something. Or on the flip, if you do it to an enemy, you're like, I totally demolished that one guy. Holy shit. And it's very fun. I really quite enjoy what that adds atmospherically to the game.
I suppose another one, a classic, and I guess alternative rule set, I don't know, game aid, probably. Old guns never die. You need to find more named guns for your night market. I mean, it's okay. Yeah. It's a little loose out there.
I don't know if I'd I don't know if I'd call it a full-on alt rules set, but I agree. If you need more brand names, the part of the complaints that I've heard and that I've learned quite a bit about, obviously, since starting to play Red, is that 2020 had a lot of homogeny in its gun design, where there were a lot of guns at every like level, essentially, that operated more or less the same. So yeah, if you really just need something for your night market or whatever, you need more examples than the back of the book gives you. Or, you know, you're like, I want another basic pistol, but I don't want it to be designed by like Budget Arms. You're like, okay, cool. There's an old one from like, you know, Militech or something from the 2020s. It was like a budget model they made back in the day or whatever. And you could just bring it up that way. That is a thing, but I don't know if I'd go as far as call it an alt rule set, because it's more just like adapting thing for the new thing, you know.
Now the chase rules. The chase rules are great because Emmerron, you and I both, whenever chases came up, we used a different system's chase rules for it, but now.
We basically have the same kind of system. Yeah, it's so good.
Just not on cards. But when we look at Red's new chase system, the fact that there is now a defined narrative, and it's not even like, having to follow it down to square, it's more of a narrative strip of grid that helps you just kind of determine the distance between you and your opponent. And I think it's pretty fucking sweet that we have something like that now.
I like the extrapolation it does, where the range band is kind of your distances on the table, because that's roughly how I've done it in the past. Like in Neon Inferno Season 1, that's kind of how we did it. But it was always guesswork. There's always a ton of guesswork involved, and now that we have actual rules. And again, I think this is if anything, a clarification on the rules, but I do want to talk about it because it is one of those things where it adds a detail, a level of detail to something we really didn't have details on before. Your new car chases happen, but how do you measure relative velocities and things like that, and how far behind someone gets, or whatever. How far ahead you're able to take your vehicle. None of that was defined before. Now that we have definition on it, it's very nice. I also like the little battle map they included in the back, because as far as I'm aware, I think that's a new one. I don't think we've had that battle map before.
It comes in one of, I think, Loki's packs.
Is it a Loki one, really?
It's either Loki or Lion Banner, one of the two. I think it's Loki.
If they were using it in a book, I assume it has to be Loki. But while you keep talking, I'm gonna look that up, because I was like,
of course. There's also they also came out with new actions for this as well, in the the Hot Pursuit DLC. This also includes talking about the number of squares and how far away someone might get before you can get up and going in the chase, and what each square defines in this case, where one square away is 0 to 6 yards, 2 squares is 7 to 12, 3 squares is I think I found a typo. That should be 13 to 25 in there.
Oh, lots of people have noticed. Lots of people have noticed that typo. Yeah. Oh, damn. Yeah, you're right. It is just the overpass map, but it's just turned vertical. Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
And also they have positioning checks to see if you can better your position against your opponent, depending on, how fast they're going. The slower your car, the higher the DV. But also, it's not just speed in this game. It's also how well.
Well, what? What have you discovered?
I had to run my Van Hammer program real quick, but anyway, I don't want free viewers on whatever website. The other things though that they show up on here is like move in close. You have the ability, like they have a whole like list of maneuvers. Nos has a place in here besides just going fast like in the overworld. Now Nos actually has a place for moving closer to your opponents. You can also do the pursuit intervention technique, aka the pit maneuver. Absolute classic of bumping the rear corner of someone's car and sending them spinning out, and you could end the chase pretty quickly. Also possibly kill them. Possibly, if they're going too fast.
Look, if the poser Gonk wanted to shoot at me, he should have thought about that before he realized I was behind him in a much larger vehicle.
See, okay, so they don't really have a speed limit for pit maneuvers on here, because usually pit maneuvers, you want to only do it like lower speeds, because you roll that at a higher speed, oh, someone's gonna die. Pull ahead, of course. You want to just get away? Just pull ahead. It's going to be a tough check, though, of DV17, so hopefully your Nomad's really good at what they do.
Nyla, I'm going to need you to define what the hell you mean by hopping. We're building hopping in our quadras, right? What do you mean by that exactly? Are you mean like hydraulics? Like where you bounce or something? Because honestly, that'd be a kind of a funny ass maneuver if you just like flipped your hydraulics on partway through a chase or whatever, and literally jumped over the other car, a la like Fast and the Furious. That would be kind of fucking hilarious.
I mean, jump is a maneuver in there. So you're in a car, right? And you're in one building. In front of you is another.
So you're in a car, right? And you're in one building, and in front of you is another.
How do you get a
You're
car?
on the 50th floor.
How?
I already see where this is going.
I mean, I suppose I would, but
have you, Diamond? I have to ask this. Have you watched the Fast and the Furious?
I
films?
have watched the Fast and the Furious.
Okay. Have you watched all of them though?
Look, after 3, I kind of lost interest in. I'm sorry.
That is why what Nyla is saying right now is not making you laugh like it is me. Because this is literally something they do in one of the later ones.
Something cargo fast, something bald head, something family, something oh fuck, we have to do it again.
Dom, I can't believe that we had to go to space to save the world. Yeah, next time we'll go to Pluto. Because family.
And then also, of course, these rules, I mean, sure, they are for vehicles, but they can be scaled to, for land vehicles. But they can be scaled to sea vehicles and air vehicles. And on top of that, I'm sure there's a way to scale the speed versus move, like combat speed versus narrative speed, to do it for foot chases as well, easily.
Well, they define 8 move here. Let me see how many bands we got. We have 6 bands.
Yep.
I mean, foot chases. It gets a little wonky. It gets a little wonky, but I mean, well, let me think. Because you could technically expand these bands one further. Where, let's see, TV is dependent on the vehicle's combat speed.
So
it's a little weird.
Like looking at this, you know, you have 2 move. Like we changed over to like 2 move, 3 move, 4 move, 5 move, 6 move, 7 move, 8 move. And then, of course, also higher move when we look at
8 plus. A plus move would probably be what you do, because there are ways like inline skates to increase that. But yeah, you're right. If you're going from 2, you just extend the DV band by 1 more, because then it makes DV9. DV9 would be like the 7th band on this, and you could do that. Yeah, that would work.
I suppose we look at something like, because imagine like inline skates and like skate feet give you like a little bit more speed, if I remember correctly.
They do. They give you an extra
4. I think.
Basically, if you're running, it basically gives you like +1 move, essentially, because you're able to move up to 2 more spaces than you normally would.
All right. So
effectively, it treats you as like having 9 move during the run.
All right. So great. Because someone with 2 move, there's no way in hell they're gonna catch someone that's got 6 move, unless the athletics really does some weird wonky shit.
Fucking Nyla is typing in my chat right now. It's tech upgrade your car to be a rocket.
So,
Jesus.
Have you considered getting the AV4 engines for your car?
No.
It gets
those still depend on those need an atmosphere, Diamond. Where we're going, we're not gonna have an atmosphere. Those still need air to breathe. What if we made an engine that didn't?
Oh, fair enough. Just Nyla, go get a Delta Jock.
This is Nyla needs to like literally just make a tech.
I worry for your sanity.
Dude, no, I love like, as much as you're like, damn, I really don't like it, the way that and I know you're not like this with every tech, but like I know the one day you came in and I was like, what if I like an arm-mounted particle accelerator as cyberware? And you're like, absolutely fucking not.
Jinx.
And I'm like, I see. I'm just as crazy. I want to see that shit explored, because I retain GM fiat to say no later on the road. Like, hey, this is a little too much. I think you'll agree. So like, let's tune this back just a little bit. Let's tame it just a tad.
Anytime I use that, everyone's like, no. Oh my gosh, no! I do not want cheap viewers.
Listen, Nyla, tell me that's not awesome. Well, and see, this is the thing, Nyla, like, you're already playing a Nomad in the Thursday game. You could theoretically take like 1 rank in tech and be able to start using that vehicle tech to upgrade shit. I'm just saying. You're already an air nomad to a certain extent, so like 1 rank in tech is all it takes to be able to start inventing and upgrading shit.
I'm trying to think other alt rule sets that are included in here. I guess to a degree, Elf Lines is like, while it's not entirely an alt rule set, it kind of reskins the game to that virtual world. Plus, also, like with Elf Lines TCG, it does touch on the economy. It does touch on the economy. The fact that, there's items that, can be put up for sale and whatnot. I mean,
yeah.
Hey, let alone a dirt cheap card is like, 5 eddies. But, maybe you're walking around. I mean, 8-bit, you're probably walking around right now with a 100 eddy card. That, foil gremlin.
Hey, I'll take alternate rarity. That's good shit by my standards. I struggle to comprehend, unless that foil is like the only alternate rarity. It's probably more like 50 eddies.
Probably 50
but like, if it were like, hey, you only get this if you pull like a 1 out of like 20 in the world kind of like card, then maybe a foil gremlin's worth it. Like that would change that immediately, because I'm thinking about like IRL trading card game prices. Like the only time something costs $1 billion for like a card is if they're exceedingly rare, exceedingly old, or both. So yeah, 50 though. Yeah, I've seen a $2 card in a foil rarity or a variant rarity of some kind. I've seen those go for like 30-40 bucks, which is kind of what we're extrapolating out to here.
And then also, more of a game aid, but I still kind of count this under here. The Hardened series. Of course, of hardened mooks, hardened lieutenants, and hardened mini bosses.
Mm-hmm.
While they themselves don't really provide like actual mechanics to the game, what they do is introduce mechanics for what is classified as a hardened party.
Yeah, I struggle again. I struggle to call that an alternate rule set entirely, because it's not really alternate. It's more like, because especially now that it's been codified in Danger Gal dossier, it definitely, that feels more like, in this instance, probably not so much clarification and more like we're adding these half tiers essentially of difficulty to better delineate, like, we understand that the basic mooks are too basic. They are too milquetoast. They will get utterly stomped by anyone with an exotic weapon that costs like $5,000 or more, or has the stats to like basically make their run-of-the-mill basic weapon into that. But it is important. They are important DLCs. I think the hardened DLCs and hardened enemies as a concept are very, very important.
All right, now I suppose one last question, and this is just more. I just kind of have a thought here. If you could, just by the power of pure magical bullshit, make this appear, an alternate rule set for what? Go.
Alternate rule set. This is something I've been saying this for fucking ever, Dime, and if this surprises you in any way, I'm sorry, you haven't been paying attention. An alternate rule set for old net running.
That doesn't surprise me. I want that.
I want old net running so bad, or some kind of facsimile of it so bad, which is why this Monday I tried that out in Neon Inferno, as a point, like, to do a data fortress run. Because I'm like, I want alternate net running rules for those type of net architectures so badly.
Oh, one other one, of course, I forgot to mention. Salvaging Night City. Going out, collecting, old pieces of tech to either add to your own collection to, not have to go buy and you just fix it yourself. Or sell later as well. I mean, hell, I've had a party member come across... I make there be a very rare chance that they scrape up something good, and, they came up with a Militech Avenger. I know it's a very high dollar item, but
yeah,
it's a Militech Avenger. Sells for a pretty penny. But, I suppose for me, I want alternate lifestyles. I want to see guerrilla gardeners. I want to see reclaimers. I want to see zoners, like those that are taking over buildings to see what. Because I like, while I understand Cyberpunk is mainly a heist game, what about when you get home and suddenly the pipes are busted, the doors kicked in, and now you got to figure out what to do with it and how you're going to survive in horrible places like the combat zone. How are you going to
Right.
eat without relying on Continental brands to feed you out of their, mitts?
So we know, at least we know Jay is thinking about a guerrilla gardening DLC in the future to give us some of that. How would you I guess expand some of those other rules to be kind of full on alternate sets?
So, Reclaimers? I feel like with Reclaimers, first things first, we need to define what is a Reclaimer. Is that going to be, is that like anybody, like even in the combat zones? Or is
No.
it only, like I'm talking about those that are, taking over buildings to make those places home? Or is that specifically
No.
folks out in the Badlands?
They're on the perimeters of the city, so they're going for places like what was the name of the little ghost town you go with Pan Am
Rocky
2?
Ridge?
Rocky Ridge, yeah. They're going to places like Rocky Ridge and revitalizing them. They're going to places like what was Laguna Bend by the time of '77, and bringing life back into those places.
The border neighborhoods of the city.
Yeah, like not just the neighborhoods, but like actual settlements that are near the city. What would have been like nearby, like suburbia or like farming communities at one point, maybe. Those are like where Reclaimers are largely going to, and trying to extend the influence of society back out into those places, despite the fact that they're pretty distant from the city in some cases.
So when I look at those, it's going to be very much more kind of a like, how are you going to keep your place afloat? And it creates all these great like story plots. Like, all right, awesome. It's really cool now that you decided to take over this place. Now, how are you going to grow food? How are you going to get water out here? Like, you're going to have to. It creates a series
So
of
you're looking for like a survivalism DLC almost, like expand
survivalism,
all facets of that.
survivalism, but also on top of that, like what is Reclaimer life, and how will it get you off the normal traditional four lifestyles? Like, how do you feed yourself? How do you get around? How do you survive in a world where your money or your lack of money doesn't hinder you?
I mean, that would be fascinating from the standpoint that we already have like the echoes of that in Black Chrome.
Yep.
In some of the general gear. Like that would actually be kind of wild to see them expand on that now that we do have some of that. Because it felt like we have all this gear and we don't have a great like template, I guess, against which to like apply it then. Because I think like the only scream sheet we technically have, or adventure of any kind really, so far at least, that we technically have, that would make any sort of use of those is Wood Pirates. And that's like 1 gig.
And then, we look at the incident and we find this whole thriving group called the Shroomers.
Yeah.
Where, that's what they do. They pretty much reclaimed part of the Encart tunnels and made that home. Like, I want to know, what would it take in order to make a home in a place where you're not welcome? Like,
yeah, I mean, either you're not welcome or the elements are prohibitive to you having good survival odds there, true colonial like effort on the part of the people doing it.
Like, it's all fun and games till Night Corp notices, hey, why is there water going out there?
Well, yeah, assuming they didn't sanction it. That is potentially very interesting. Yeah, like I'd be intrigued to see what could become of something like that. I'm gonna, put that in my back pocket for another little micro campaign to write about at some point in the future. Really expand that. I know my brother has talked a lot because my brother is big into conservation and stuff like that. Like Diamond, I know you and I have talked, but like for any of you in the audience who don't know, My brother works as part of like the state forestry department, and he actually like does treatment and stuff like that on wildlife. So when I've talked with him before, and I'm like, would you ever try running like Cyberpunk? He says, I want to, but I don't want to run in Night City. I want to run a scenario or a campaign where the distance between places matters, and the ability to like feed, clothe, and keep yourself alive is far more of a factor than Night City and its amenities typically makes that. Which is saying something when like Red is already a pretty daunting, like deadly system in a lot of ways. So say I want more than that though. Like,
I suppose I think this may just more be a series of DLCs, but like High Life. Like, I understand Red is a very street level game, but what about that point when, because as it's been said,
like a luxury goods,
more money,
a luxury goods DLC,
more problems.
Yeah.
So great, awesome. You're now in the executive zone. Sure, yeah, you got yourself a nice house there, exec. But you now have a whole series of problems. There are people under you that want your job. There's people above you that want you to stay out of their job. Of course, you got to keep up with the Joneses in order to, keep your benefits. On top of that, goddamn the HOA. Fucking crawling up your ass every other week about something. Like, maybe not even just in the executive zone, but maybe you live in a nicer neighborhood where that is a problem, where you are dealing with shit like that. Like, I want to see, like, what are the, like, we know the threats on the street down there. The scavs, the Inquisitors, Maelstrom, the cops, fucking Rex Royale if you're on his bad side. What about when you're near the top? Like, what if you're a high-ranking fixer? What kind of trouble do you deal with up there? What circles do you end up wandering into? I want more on midnight markets, too. Like, yeah, we know it's a meeting of some of the, most powerful criminal underbelly. But what goes on?
So what I'm hearing is you want socially focused and like social strata type focused rule sets, essentially, or expansions on at least like a glimpse into like, here's elements of it so that you can start drawing conclusions from those and kind of do your own thing.
Yeah, I want to see it from like the Reclaimers to the Combat Zoners to the High Lifers. Fuck, even the High Riders. If we ever go to space.
I remind you, we have the Copernicus. So space is on the menu. I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying. RTG. This is what Rob told me. He says, I know with one of these, there are going to be people asking us, space when? And so I don't care about the CEMK release date. I care about when are we going to space, RTG?
I mean,
James and Jay, I don't need you to answer the release date for CEMK for me. What I do need an answer on is how soon are we going to get a space DLC? That's what I want.
I mean, look, all it takes is us just stealing a Delta Jock, and then boom, we're off to the Mars colonies.
Look, all I'm saying is we have one crash in a gig. Like, we could repair it in theory.
That is, unless Militech and Mr. K and every other, rich person wants their grubby little mitts on it. But,
look, we move it to a small cave I know about at the edge of the city, and we repair it there quietly.
When I look at all this, though, at the end of the day, like some of the DLCs that I look for is I want to see more on backgrounds of people, because we have the whole life path system. Why not build on that? There is so many ideas. Sure, you were a corp kid, great. Now you're back in that life. What's that hellscape like? Oh, you're a reclaimer kid? You're back out in the wilds. What are you doing? You're a zoner? Great. Let's see what life's like there.
Yeah. It'd be fun.
We see the life of an edge runner. We see the life of many edge runners.
Yeah.
So
I think it could be interesting. I think expanding the social strata a little bit and getting eyes into that. Like, we don't really need like another housing DLC, I think, to like define the high living communities, because most of them are pretty obvious. Like the Beavervilles are all pretty much in the executive zone. We know that.
cookie cutter houses.
Penthouses, sure, maybe. Like corporate, like apartments, like luxury apartments and stuff like that. Maybe like we need some insight into that, but I think we can get our own imagination going on those.
Like probably the next in line for trying to think, like next in line for the housing DLC is probably gonna be 2 beds and upscale con apps probably. Which honestly, to flesh out the world more, great. But like that, and also definitely the old net. We know it's out there. When are we going to tap into it?
I need old net alt rules. I need them now. Like, now.
We've encountered the old net. We've encountered monsters in the old net.
James, if you're listening to me, give me old net. Give me now. I want it badly.
Maybe not yet. Let's get past Forlorn Hope. And of course, CMK.
No. Now. I want it now.
But yeah,
we've already been getting. We got at least one rule set that was dedicated for Forlorn Hope as a thing. So look, give me thing. I want it so badly. I know probably the deep dive net running rules probably are gonna have to wait for the 2077 core rule book, but I want them so badly. Please give them to me.
All right.
It's okay though.
Are we ready to move on to Q&A?
I think we're ready to move on to Q&A. Let me just change my topic box real quick here.
All right, got a few interesting questions this week. So, chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us so far this evening. Glad that you're all here. And yeah, of course, if you guys have questions, do feel free to send them in Twitch chat. But first question. Regarding optimized characters, I got a feeling I know what we're pointing at here in regards to that.
8 ref, 8 dex, martial arts,
linear
evasion, linear frame, yeah.
Tech with high points in all techs, so any tech roll is trivial. Netrunner with all the good loaded shit on there. But that one takes a bit of backloading though to get really good at it.
I don't know that there's a great way to optimize a Netrunner at character creation, at least. Like eventually, yeah, just like anything, you can optimize the shit out of netrunning, but it takes a lot of work.
Could you balance a game by introducing challenges that may not be optimized to deal with? Or does it just introduce a ton of failures in the game that drag it down? Okay, so in this case, what's up?
Did you put that in the document just so that I can read that for myself?
Yeah, I'm looking at Q&A right now.
Okay.
Oh,
good.
Oh,
yeah. So
I gotta get question number 4 on there as well.
Yeah.
This one's just, I think it'd be a good one to end on, though.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt your response. I wanted to I just wanted to make sure I could read it for myself so that I could properly respond.
So, yeah, regarding optimized characters, of course, could you balance a game introducing challenges that they may not be optimized to deal with, or does it just introduce a ton of failures in the game and drag it down. So it really, in a situation like this, I've been here before, where you have linear frame, martial arts, reflex 8, dex 8, I punch person, that is personality. I've had players like that. Now, what would be the hard counter to someone like that is going to be tech skills, social skills, and education skills, because they tend to put everything into combat and being aware of their surroundings. And while that may be a good hard counter to some situations, you want to look at the party. Is this a group of mercenaries that literally their job is to be the hammer when the fixer comes calling? Or what kind of player are they looking for? Sometimes with optimized, hardened characters is a great way to counter them. Sure, linear frame martial arts is cool. That is until you take the optimized. That is until you take the hardened melee characters to that character. One of them learned.
Or you put a sniper on the roof that they don't see coming.
Exactly.
And put that sniper at DV13 range, and then have them throw a headshot at that player. All of a sudden, whoop! Or better yet, just shoot them in the leg and make sure they can't move. You know, like all of a sudden, everything about this becomes very different. That's like the biggest thing is like there are always counters, even if the paradigm you're countering them in is a oh my goodness, thank you Southern Canuck, thank you for the follow, appreciate that. Even if the paradigm you're countering them through is combat and they're optimized for combat has plenty of counters. The other thing is if their intelligence is low, their perception is low. So what do you do to a player that has low perception? You sneak up on them. Mm-hmm. You roll stealth against their perception and the stealth beats it. The other guy gets to walk up and could just headshot them for free.
Yep.
With a melee weapon. So you go mono 3 or some other very heavy weapon. It doesn't really matter what. Very heavy melee weapon, stealth, just wham. All right, cool. 46, double whatever goes through their head. And if they crit, then they're really in trouble. So like, that's all you need to counter them one time. And this is the other thing that I believe in when it comes to countering players. I don't think you should, not all the time. I think that if it ever becomes a problem to there being tension, eventually a murder hobo is going to murder the wrong guy. And that guy's got friends. And when the murder hobo's target who had friends dies and those friends come looking for them, those friends might be a powerful corporation. Those friends might be a well-organized booster gang. They're going to do their research. They're going to see how did this guy die? Who killed them? They're going to ask around witnesses in the area because there's never no witnesses, right? There's very few witnesses. There are witnesses that know better than to tell on the players. But if those witnesses are constantly seen in the scream sheets, hey, here's this juiced up cyber psycho of a runner going after people. Juiced up cyber psycho runner is gonna get targeted in intelligent ways by the right people eventually. It's just a matter of time at that point, instead of a matter of like, will I do this? No, it's a matter of when am I gonna do this?
Also, sometimes when it comes to situations like this where someone may just be overly optimized and it is not jiving well with your game, you'll need, I would not say remove, like in the case if someone's really optimized for combat, don't remove all combat from the game. That is their moment to shine. That is the moment when that player is going to, be able to dish it out best. But if you really want to put the hurt on someone that might be socially great and all, sure, that solo is awesome. How's that solo going to handle being, like catching the heat from someone that, won't raise a gun to them? But, let's say, for example, the one of the prime examples I can think of, Mr. K. All right, the king of Night City, the man that has his finger on the very pulse of the city and what it wants, when it wants it, and where it wants it. All right, you piss off a man like that. You best as you are as good as dead. You might as well make your way out of the city as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
Because he could afford to send as many bodies as he needs to go fix that problem, and he could pay for some very expensive bodies too.
Yep. Really, really pricey gear, really pricey people that have a certain set of skills that can make you vanish into red mist in the middle of the night. Like, it's, yeah. So there are always ways to deal with those players and still have them feel like they're part of a team.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the other thing too is if you view Cyberpunk as a combat game and only a combat game, you're doing it wrong. Because I think Cyberpunk is a social game. And it's a social game in a violent world, but it is a social game primarily. So like when you're doing stuff related to your spot within society. As you grow your reputation, you grow your your wallet, all those things, your place in society changes, and the sort of pressures you're contending with at each level are going to be a little different. Which is kind of what we were just talking about. And so I think that's when your players hit that point where the juiced up solo finally has met their match, it's going to be when you move that next reputation level, and the corporations that you otherwise might be targeting, or maybe even working for, they might eventually just deem that solo to be too much of a threat, and they try to double cross the team and off them. Right? And it creates a different kind of character drama. It doesn't need to be this like me, the GM versus my players kind of thing where it's like, I am your adversary or I am your enemy. Mm-hmm. It is, here's what your enemy is doing. They know what is coming for them. They understand how juiced up you are as a solo. They are going to take appropriate measures to try and prevent you from getting to them. These are the appropriate measures. I hope you're ready for them.
I mean, a hero of the combat zone, known for slaughtering many, many NCPD officers. Well, ain't that gonna look great on the 7 o'clock news with Fiona Hayes when she has you live, and everybody believes Fiona Hayes. Everybody does.
Public enemy number 1 tonight is, and that it's juiced up cyber psycho.
You know, like for example, Blue. You know, Blue was a beloved member of a community in the old combat zone. Now he is labeled as one of the most probably one of the more dangerous terrorists to strike the Glen. Actually, you know, I had a player where, you know, they were, you know, they just decided to threaten a person the wrong, like just someone to like try to get information out of them as they were a witness. That's all fun and games until 24/7's like sitting across the diner and just filming the whole thing. And then suddenly everyone in Haywood is very scared of you and you are not getting help from anyone.
Yep. And that's just it. It's like your reputation will precede you eventually. And like, that's how you counter it, is reputation.
Not with
reputation's checks. A double-edged sword.
And sometimes checks do matter. You know, the fixer of the party is going to do a great job with handling negotiations of just like, look, this job's a little too much. We need a little bit more pay in order to make this happen, and we have our assurances. Where a solo, on the other hand, more money in hand now, sometimes does not go over well with people, go over well with fixers, especially like Rogue.
Right.
Like,
well, and if we talk about optimization, not just from a combat front, but like, say you have someone who's hyper optimized for info gathering, like in media, or hyper optimized to like socially manipulate people, like a Rocker Boy. Like, a really well-rounded team will be able to beat most challenges that you throw in front of them. And that's where you resort to things like traps or ambushes or things like that. Because no amount of intel or prep can thwart a well-placed ambush by the enemies. But again, if they're being ambushed, they probably earned it. That's the other thing I want to point out is like that's another really easy way to counter in the case that you're like, this isn't fun anymore, or this isn't exciting enough. Let's ramp that up. And then you just do that instead. So that's how I generally view it personally.
I mean, for example, in one of the missions, it's definitely not Kansas, which I ran with a party. Oh, it was a nice little walk in the park for them until suddenly there was a big bait and switch. Yeah. And then they needed to go out and go deal with it, and they're now wondering if they're out of money because, I paid them 10,000 eddies up front. When they went to go pay that specific doctor the 2,000 eddies that they needed for that emergency hand surgery, that's 10,000 counterfeit eddies. And the doc just got 2,500 fake eddies put in their hand for all their work. Ain't that a fucking slap in the face?
It is. So the next question then, how hard, because I think this kind of dovetails into where we're going now, how hard should I make it poor when the players are caught in a rain of bad shit? I think it depends what caused the rain of bad shit to begin with, honestly.
I remember this conversation. It's when the snowball I wouldn't even call it a snowball. The turd starts rolling and it's picking up everything going down the hill with it.
I think here's the thing, right? If your players piss off a minor booster gang, sure, they might have a little retaliation if they sleep where that particular booster gang shits. Yeah, you're probably gonna not have a pleasant time. Like, that booster gang is probably gonna try and retaliate. But if they are really no name scop sucking pieces of shit, one or two of those encounters and you hold them off, they'll probably learn to leave you the fuck alone. As long as you don't keep going back to them and egging them on. You do that, they are going to find something or someone that you love. They're going to steal it, hold them hostage, etc. Or maybe they'll just go ahead and try to kill them, right? We had that happen to us in one of my first campaigns. And that got our heads back on straight real fast. We lost all that sense of like, we're fucking invincible badasses, we never lose. It's like, no, you just lost. Your fixer that you loved, he was like one of our neighbors. Yeah, he's been captured by this asshole. And you got to go find him quick and bring him whatever he asks for, because he means fucking business. And it's like, that's not good. And then that proceeded into a whole shitstorm that followed. We lost one of the characters. We thankfully saved the fixer that got taken, but we lost one of our players in the aftermath of that. We lost just a ton of like our place that we call home was hit. It turned into us thinking much more hard about like, how do you in place defenses to prevent that from ever happening again? What do you do to protect the spot you call home? How paranoid do you get about the people you interact with? How much you share with them? So all of that started, entering our lexicon of like what we're talking about. And if a corporation is if you're on the shit list of a major corporation like Militech, they're going to come to the club. They're going to light it up with an AV, with an auto machine gun. They're going to find every excuse to hunt you down. They're going to snipe you. They're going to try to chase you. They will come to the places where you live, and they're going to send a spec ops team to bomb them in the middle of the night while you're asleep in there.
Oh, hey,
that is what's going to happen. Yeah. Oh, hey there, neighbor. You understand why I got paranoid, because I've pulled that shit on my players before.
Oh.
I've done that to them where they pissed Militech off. This was in season 1 of Neon Inferno. Pissed Militech off, and Militech came for them. They came to try and kill them all in the middle of the night. and they got a memo. Or no, it wasn't Neon Inferno. It was one of the other campaigns I ran before Neon Inferno. They came for them in the middle of the night, and they were warned very, very shortly before everything hit the fan by like a voice on their agents that called them in the middle of the night and said, "Wake up, you got to move." And then they saw as each of their cargo containers or their cube hotels were breached or bombed, and it was like they had everything taken from them in one night.
For me,
Like,
oh, go ahead.
yeah. No, I was like that's kind of what I was gonna say though. Is just like make it rain as hard as they've called for it to. You know, like equal and opposite reactions. That's the way I look at the city.
Now, sometimes when it rains, it does pour, and there's just no way to handle it, and then you got to figure out how to get yourself back up. Which honestly, I don't mind that in my Cyberpunk games. I mean, hell, with Dia, having had basically the hermit drawn on her, basically both of her eyes kind of went kablooey. So, it was a couple days before rent. We were about to get paid, and, well, the person that was supposed to pay us suddenly didn't have the money, and then suddenly had a business trip elsewhere, and so we were out of money, and, it's 100 eddies of Cyber Eye, so had to get those installed. That put me at 500, but then on top of all that, had to get a new Cyber deck because my other one got destroyed. And, well, I was dead broke by the time it was time for rent. Because I just hoped that it was just maybe a little late. The fixer just didn't get us the money. And then, I end up out on the street. All my shit getting washed out of the cube as well.
Yeah. When Properjack pointed out, the police did SWAT raid Neon Inferno. Yeah, and Afterglow, I think that we did do that. I was thinking the specific instance I was thinking of was from a previous campaign, but you're right, that did also happen there. It was in response to them getting word like this is gonna come for you, like so that they did try. Absolutely, they tried.
Now, I suppose one of the other things when considering to make it poor. It depends on how hard, and I'm talking about when the street's punching back. It depends on how much racket they've also made on the street. Sometimes, I haven't really had an opportunity to really make it happen, but, word gets out that someone's got, a nice few extra doses of blue glass in their container. Of course some junkie's gonna want it. They're gonna, pop that lock. They're gonna go digging through your shit. They might be not in there trying to steal much, but, hey, I could sell that laptop for another couple bumps. I could probably sell this for another bump or two. But, like, at the same time, I would never push it to a point that, you've put the players at a spot where the game becomes unplayable.
Yeah, like you never want it to be truly unfun for your players. You want to stress them out. You don't want to make them rage quit. It would be like the way I would put it. And that's going to look different for every table. My biggest recommendation is make their reputation matter. If they've gained a reputation for doing some really bombastic shit, everyone, enemies and allies alike, are going to notice. And if they made way more enemies than they've made allies, then it's that's what we are going to be looking at there. Is we're going to be looking at all of the people that they pissed off, all kind of like coming for them at once if they realize, hey, we're not alone. That group also hates this guy, and they hate him too, and that group too. All of a sudden, all your enemies are going to start coming for you, one after another, after another, after another. Which is why being a psychopath murder hobo doesn't win the game. Because after a while, all the groups you were a psychopath murder hobo toward will all come to claim debt at the same time. And even if it wasn't the police or corp, boosters have a tendency to get some really sharp pitchforks when the enemy they need to kill is, they know where they live and they all kind of have the same goal to do it, right? Laser focus.
Now, sometimes you get a reputation around that cargo container where it's just like, oh yeah, you know, John Cyberpunk, first name I can think of there, John Cyberpunk. Yeah, he's pretty cool. I just don't piss him off. Don't do it.
Yep. If you keep it at that level with your enemies, I think, to all you players out there, you keep it at around the level of like, yeah, don't piss that guy off, he will kill you. Like, instead of killing so many people that no one else around you has anything to lose by trying to kill you, you will probably be mostly off the shit list of most groups. You want them to respect you with a healthy dose of fear to season that. You don't want fear to be the only thing they feel, because fear turns into paranoia, which turns into violent retribution. And that's the way I kind of run it. So yeah.
I mean, hell, like Scarlet, one of her first characters got really good at handguns to a point that, you know, people just realized, yeah, give her some extra room, because she will drop you dead in your tracks. Your brain will go out your head.
Yeah. Well, so the next question here is interesting to me. So what backgrounds do you not allow in your player's character creation? If the background is in the book, I allow it. Full send.
Oh, okay, this one. Yep. All right. So, this is more talking about, like, narratively. Sure, you're part of a ganger family. Like, for me, I do a hard no on, I do a hard no on 3 specific gangs. Red Chrome Legion, absolutely not. Bozos, I don't tend to allow, just because of the culture that Bozos foster. And then the Voodoo Boys are just kind of a mess that I like.
They're the same kind of problem as the other two. Although I'll say this, right? Every time I would think to limit like that, I always find exception. Like, yeah. And I mean, even Diamond, in like your character's background, they were a Red Chrome Legion at one point.
Yeah, they're former.
But they broke away from the gang.
I'm talking about actively part of the Inquisitors, right. Actively part of Red Chrome, because it's not going to foster good, you know, party composition. I
think if your player, this is my stance as a GM, right? My stance is, if you as a player are going to try and play the chaotic evil bad guy, so to speak, right? Which is a lot of what those gangs by and large represent. GMs out there, if your player tries to do that and you're like, I don't know if I want to allow them to have had affiliations with the white supremacist gang, or I don't know if I want them to be part of the murder clowns. The first thing I would ask them following is, well, how have you moved past that into edge running?
Yep.
And then see what their response is. Because I don't think it's bad to have it as part of your background per se. But if you, like Diamond said, like if you're actively part of it, or if you're not on your way out the door, so to speak, like where you're like, okay, I have issues with the way this gang is running, and while I may not have broke my ties yet, I'm on the way out. I'm just looking for a way to do that cleanly. And part of your character's internal struggle is doing that. I'm willing to allow it, because you're still in that way treating those subjects and the ideals that they represent. You're treating them with respect as a problem. You're still representing them in your game as like, this is a problem, not a good thing, right? So these groups are not good or a good thing to have. They should not be, you should not be made to think that they are something you want to grow toward, right?
I mean, Maelstrom for me is kind of 50-50, because Maelstrom, you're kind of like just a bit of the wild card in the group. Not all
they're
of
pretty
them are
psychopathic.
Yeah, I mean, they're psychos. Not all of them are inherently evil. They're a little unhinged. But,
Right.
you know, I like Roy is a former Maelstrummer. Chop Chop, one of Zasha's characters, is a former Maelstrummer. While, you know, they still have their ties to their factions of Maelstrom, they aren't inherently like Warlock's faction, where it is very much, you know, running a chop shop and drug market.
Right. Well, and again, yeah, like I think it all just depends how your players are gonna treat the background they're taking. But like I don't know, Diamond, are there truly any backgrounds like straight up that you would just full send, or even rules? Maybe not backgrounds as a full idea, but like if a player came to you with a character idea and the character idea didn't boil down to, oh, I'm, you know, part of this supremacist gang or something, full send, and I want that to be a good thing. Like, are there any other backgrounds that you really would full send ban? Because even I can't think of there being like a full-on ban that I would make.
I've had a player roll up with the idea of just like, okay, I am Machiko Sanderson's lost son, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't want that kind of power getting thrown around at my table, where it
Fair.
like while I understand, like, don't keep everything to the canon, which, you know, I don't personally, but like I don't like throwing around, like, you know, you being able to throw around like names of like major faces, like, you know, your heir. Now, I guess if you could say that, you know, you're supposedly the rightful heir to Mr. Kernighan, but that is not like a boon you have. That is a problem you have, where you are like having to set the score with Kernighan. Like, no, you put me in that will, or, you know, you put me in this family.
Or Kernighan is hunting you because he doesn't want you to get.
You're one of the illegitimate children.
Yeah. Like he wants to permanently write you out of that will.
Yeah.
At the end of a gun. Like, yeah.
I could see something like that where we have that kind of power at play. But, you know, when you have a player that comes rolling in, like, you know, just dropping, yeah, I'm the child of this major face of this international corporation. How are you on the street?
Yeah.
How are you
or
here?
I'm one of the children of Carrie Eurodyne. It's like, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Like,
that one, I can see that one being a little more probable, but like, you don't know it's Carrie.
Right. Well, and it's one of those things, I think, where like, again, it depends how you want to stretch it, but everything should be balanced. It should be equal and opposite all the time. So if you have a major boon on one hand, there should be a major bane to counter it, that you have to overcome if you want to get it.
And then I suppose one of the other major backgrounds I tend to ban is, and this one's more just because I've seen this one show up before at my table, and it really did not mesh too nicely at all. Someone claiming to be basically a very old war vet, getting in on the action, and sometimes like you really look at like how old this person is, and it's just like, how are you still here? And then it's just like, I could see how it works, but at the same time, like, you're so well along into your life that it's just like, could you still do edge running? But then again, I don't really push that envelope too hard, because I mean, you still have, like, for example, Rogue, who's like well into her 80s by the time 2077 rolls around. But I guess it's just more being a I guess it's just more trying to use that military background to just be a fucking hard ass on every other member of your party. It just
Yeah, I agree. It's you don't want there to be these huge power imbalances in the party unless everyone has something that they can claim back to, or they can unify, around the negative that the one person's, the bane to their boon represents. So like the character in Neon Inferno season 1, who was the daughter of this CEO who owned this mega corporation, like not a mega corporation, but a fairly sizable protection corporation. Her counterbalance, she wanted nothing to do with her family or her past. She didn't give a damn about them, but they came looking for her, tried to kill her and everyone. And when she survived that attempt, like she made it her mission to go back and kill the guy. So like that's also very interesting. Like I think that the riches to rags, and then because just on principles, I love that. I love that story. So I think power isn't a bad thing to have as long as you respect that it's not going to be used for like, oh, I am the daughter of a powerful CEO. You are all below me. You will do as I ask, and if you do not, I shall have you killed. As long as it's not shit like that, you're chilling, like most of the time.
I mean, I also had someone write in. They were like a higher up in Lazarus. They were like a rank 4 0 rep solo, and it's just like I can understand if maybe you were an exec, you were like lower management for Lazarus, but like you were a solo for Lazarus. You're very much like one of their operatives that they have in the city.
Or you were one of them at one point and then got kicked out. Like my wife played a character like that at one point, where it was like former middle manager for a corporation, slept with the wrong person. Whoops, it was the CEO's niece, and his wife found out. So the wife took the house and everything. The CEO fired him, and what's he to do but turn to like edge running? And he's like, well, I don't fucking care about my life. I'll just risk it. Spent the last eddies he had on a rifle, and went out and did hit work and was good at it. So he kept doing it. And that's how he survived. So like you can do that, but yeah, you can't be possessed. I think in Cyberpunk, at least at character creation, you are not possessed of power. Were you possessed of power, this is not where you would be. Like that's the big rule of thumb.
I mean, I have someone. I do have a player in one of my groups that they're one of X's adoptive children, is the way they put it, which X being the leader of 6th Street, but it's very much one of those things of, sure, you might be X's adoptive kid, but just like his actual son, you're doing work. You're out there with 6th Street. You and it's just lawman background, where basically the other 6th Street members look at him as little brother. Kind of how Daddy's never going to be really proud of you ever. Like it's always all right, good. Now this is what I got for you now, kid, and that's the eternal cycle. It's never I'm proud of you, good job, whatever. Every once in a while, X is like, all right, good work. Go wash up. Yeah. Get ready for tomorrow.
But it's always but it always has that last part tacked on.
Well, I mean,
it's like
that's how he treats both his actual son and they're just other soldiers in the 6th Street gang. That's all they are. To him.
No, totally makes sense.
It's like I don't care. You're my blood or my kid. You're gonna be treated just like every other soldier here.
So I know we are well over time, but this last one's pretty quick. And if you're down for taking the last little bit here,
sure.
What's your favorite item that's not a cyber deck or a weapon?
Now, the person that asked this, you know who you are. And how dare you? But anyway, so one of my favorite little gadgets that have shown up in Black Chrome specifically. It's just I love it just because of the novelty of it. It is the it's one of my few favorites, but it's the Street Case by Sex Systems.
That's a good one.
It's a it's got a smoke grenade in it. It's got room for a heavy pistol and a couple of magazines. It comes with you can even pack a Modfire 10X in there. You can also let's see, what else can you put in there? Oh, yep, the chip vault. You have enough room for your laptop. Basically, it's an Exactor Fixer's all-in-one, safety case.
Yeah. I would have to say probably, I think this depends how we're bounding the question. Because if I don't have if I don't have any further restrictions other than just Cyberdeck a weapon, my single favorite item in the entire game, because of its sheer ridiculousness, is the Mega Hauler. I love the Mega Hauler. I will never not love the land train. That thing is so fucking funny.
Oh, and I saw the picture for that the first time.
Right. It has not gotten boring for me. The street train that is the Mega Hauler is forever one of my favorite items in the game. However, if we are bounding it to something that isn't quite as expensive, I
think the Mega Hauler hits it, but what you thinking?
So the on the other end of it, if we're talking an item that's not a weapon or a cyberdeck, that I also really enjoy. I really like subdermal armor on my characters. My favorite new gizmo that I'm starting to realize is really overpowered is the trauma response nanomatrix. That thing is fucking crazy good. Oh. Holy shit, I love that item.
I remember when DICE posted the teaser video for that, the fucking comments section, it was just all Senator Armstrong references from Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, just nanomachines.
Nanomachines, son! Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Now, I could be really cheeky about this, though. One of my other favorite little items is the Smithy hardware. It's not
Smithy's
a cyberdeck, but
yeah.
Hey, you don't have to pack all those band hammers and swords in. Just get one or the other, and then boom, done.
Yeah,
dealt with.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And if you want to bound it, so I don't know who asked this, but if you want to bound it and be even more pedantic, and you say, well, the trauma response nanomatrix is a combat item, and you wanted non-combat items, I have one more item to throw at you. Then that is an additional favorite of mine. That has less to do with combat and much more to do with just a lot of, it unlocks a lot of what you can do. And that, my dear friend, is the biomonitor, the humble biomonitor. Mm-hmm. You're gonna do so fucking much with your biomonitor. It is so crazy, all the things you can do with that. Because you could even have your agent queued up to call someone if you hit a certain health pool or whatever. It doesn't need to be trauma team even. It could be your fixer, letting him know hey, I will signal to you if I need additional backup or whatever, and have a range with them ahead of time. And your biomon can trigger that call. There's so much tricky shit with biomons. I feel like they're greatly underrated. I've gotten a lot of my players up on biomon is one of the best pieces of fashionware because of this. Calls your lawyer to get your last will and testament ready. Exactly. Yeah. See, Prepper Jack gets it.
Yeah, it just drops the geocache of where you can find it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No,
right.
Ultimately, that's probably my responses to that, though.
I think on that note, though, yeah, we went a wee bit long, but there was just a lot of good stuff to cover today. A lot of good stuff. Though, again, friendly reminder, all of you, if you have questions for Jay Gray, line manager from Cyberpunk RED, especially about the Cyberpunk Edge Runners Mission Kit, which is coming out at some point between mid-June to late June, depending on when it comes out.
Yeah, provided there are no print errors or anything that they need to worry about in that field. No more delays. We get it. That is the range we have. We do not know anything further. We probably will not know anything further. Please, 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 please do not ask this. We have been asked it plenty. We do not have an answer. We will not get an answer unless Rob somehow loosens the leash on Jay and Jay is feeling open to talking about it.
I will make this abundantly clear. I've already had to do it twice, and I will happily do it again if I gotta. I will ban and block you if you proceed to ask me. I will do it. Don't make me do it. I care about you guys. You're all wonderful.
The only reason I've gotten away with the chat is because I'm one of her mods and I'm her co-host. Please do not follow my example. If I egg her on, it is entirely because I am in a privileged position. Please do not follow my example.
While it may seem like Emmerron and I know quite a bit about what's going on, we really don't. We just happen to talk to Rob a lot that, every once in a while, we'll just kind of, conspire on some stuff. But outside that, we really don't know.
We talk with Rob, but even he's very tight-lipped. I don't even want to leave you guys with the impression like he tells us stuff. He doesn't. He actually goes out of his way to not tell us stuff.
Same.
Like he will drop a hint at something, like the vaguest hint possible, and we're like, all right,
it still goes
Rob,
over
would you care? Would you care to elaborate on that? He said, no, I don't think I will.
Oh yeah,
and
it
that's
still
all.
Goes over my fucking head. Just like
that's all it is.
Like even like I thought he dropped a hint on what Hot Pursuit was gonna be, and it just kind of went over my head like an airplane. But I suppose with that, just make sure you get your questions to us. On that note, we will be signing off. Of course, as always, Neon Inferno will be at 7:30 Pacific time. And of course, I will always run my stream at 7 p.m. Central Time. And do feel free to tune in to Wireheads, and we hope to see you in the future. Until then, hope you all have a lovely night, a lovely morning, whenever it might be. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.